Be seated. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. The psychologist of happiness, Sonia Lyubomirsky, is that how you pronounce her last name? Anyone else read her work? She has all these books out on how to be happy, and it's her field. And she tells the story of how her whole life she had terrible eyesight. Terrible. And so from the age of 10 or 12 or something, she was in thick glasses and really just couldn't see without the glasses, the contact lenses, until as an adult, she got LASIK surgery, this miracle, and suddenly she's seeing leaves on trees and blades of grass, and without her glasses, the salt shaker and the pepper shaker, and everything's so clear. And that first week was so amazing. She just couldn't get over it. Like, wow, this is amazing. And then she noticed that after the first week, it stopped being so amazing, right? It was just the way it was. It was the way you saw. And life moved on. And it turns out that this is actually how our brains are wired. There's a psychology term, something like the hedonistic principle. So any psychologists in the room? About how our brains are actually wired to get that big burst of fresh energy and excitement and that chemical burst right when there's something new. And then as it becomes less new, the hedonistic pleasure tones down and we start looking for that next thing. So why am I talking about this? Because this is the week that we get the Parsha where we have the mitzvah from the verse from which the rabbis derived the mitzvah to bless our food, not only before we eat, but after we eat also. Ve'achalta ve'savata uverachta et Adonai Elohecha al ha'aretz asher natan lach. Future tense. One day, Moses tells us, one day you will eat, you will be satisfied, and then the rabbis say, he says, and you will bless. The rabbi says, and you shall bless the Lord your God for the land that he gave you, and for all the produce, and for this meal. And so in Talmud and Masachet Brachot, they come up with the food blessings not only for the before part, but for the after, because it's when we're satisfied that we are to bless, says the verse. Not just when we're like, oh, please, I really want this food, it looks delicious, or thank God I have a meal in front of me. Oh, let me say grace, before I eat. There's a thank you component. It's so us with everything that we forget the thank you, or we'll beg for the please. We see it with our kids and our grandkids. I just want the next toy. I just want the new thing. If I only had the dress, the car, the house, the whatever, and then we say a quick thank you and we move on, even though we're still wearing the dress, driving the car. The kids have probably stopped playing with the toy and want the next one, but fine, that's how we are, right? We forget the thank you part, and with food in particular, to remember the source. And that's actually the deeper part that I wish to share with you this morning. It's on page 1041 if anybody feels like following along, but it's just a verse or two, right? The verse I just quoted, verse 10, when you have eaten your fill, give thanks to the Lord your God for the good land which he has given you. This we know, this is where we get Birkat HaMazon from. But what's the very next verse? Hishamer lecha. Take care, lest you forget the Lord your God and fail to keep his commandments, rules, laws, when you have eaten your fill. And you have built fine houses to live in, when you have silver and gold and enough cattle, and the produce of your land is bountiful, watch out, because that, Moses says, is when you're going to forget. That's when you're going to forget to say thank you to God. And isn't that us? We walk through the supermarket and we complain about the prices. Maybe we marvel over the miracle of having so much fruit. Maybe we actually completely forget that the fruit is a miracle to have strawberries year-round or whatever it is. And we walk through and we're so used to it that we forget who's really in charge of all of it. And so I invite us, or the Torah, the Parsha is inviting us to take on this week a little bit of extra kavanah around our food practices. What would it look like to take on and make sure you bless each food, or to just take that pause, look at what's before you and say thank you to God, using the traditional blessings, which I'm happy to share with you, or the blessings of your own heart. And then what would it take to, before you get up and bring your plate to the sink, or clear it, or leave the restaurant, or go back to whatever you're doing at the computer and push the dish aside because you forgot that you were eating as you were doing the other 3 things you were doing, what would it take to pause and say these words? Thank you, God, for the food, for the eating, for the satisfaction, for all you give me. And now I bless you, the source of all that is in my life. So may this be a week where we are filled with gratitude for the little things and for the big, where we are blessed to see the world with the new eyes, even the things we've gotten used to seeing, and in particular that we should be filled with gratitude and create for ourselves opportunities for blessing our food along with all of the daily miracles that God gives us each and every moment.